This time in the Quick Speed Shop, I'm working on building the front shock mounts for the Model A Hot Rod Shop Truck. Okay, what I'm using to put the shocks in the front of this truck is I got a set of Pete and Jake's chrome shorty street rod shocks here, and then I ordered off from Speedway Motors some lower shock mounts that mount onto the lower portion of the bolt for the spring pivot. So this is for the driver's side, but I'm over here on the passenger side. So what I want to do is use this reproduction fender brace, and I want to use that and make the upper shock mount up here. So I've already got the lower shock piece bolted on. I just took the nut off the bottom of this perch bolt and simply bolted the piece up on there temporarily, just so we can get a look at what's going on here. And I've got my chrome Pete and Jake shock. These things are the short ones. I think they're 11 inches or something, but they got a pretty small stroke that's wide open, and I go down to here, it's about closed. So let's see what about halfway is, roughly about there. That's about what I got it pulled out. But I will tell you from before, when I've set up these front ends, these posy springs tend to settle out a little bit. So if you're going to set up your shock with a brand new spring, don't set the stroke on the piston halfway down when you're setting up the shock. I'm actually going to pull the piston up probably another half of an inch past center, so I can get more action, so then when the suspension settles, it'll actually settle down into the shock a little bit and end up in the middle of the travel. I've got to actually pull the fender brace back about 7/8 of an inch. I'm moving the center line of the fender back to better match the tire on the front of this axle. So the first thing I got to do is move that back, and then figure out where the shock is going to mount. I'd like to get some kind of tubing welded across here, or box this thing in so it's structural, and mount the shock up parallel to the axle. And want to keep it low enough where all the force, when the axle goes up and down, it's going to transfer the force into the frame, and not like, way up here where it's going to be shaking the thing. Like if you put the shock straight up and down here in some kind of goofy mount, it would be torquing this thing all over the place. And I want it to push down here, which has got no flex. You push out here, you got a lot of flex. You push in here, it's pushing all of its force into the frame, so it shouldn't want to deflect any of this at all. Alright, so I got the fender brace off. Here on the passenger side, I've made a plate with the same holes as the fender brace in it. So what I want to do is I got to move the brace back like this on the frame. So I made this plate. Can you see me? Yes. And let's see, the holes line up here. I've drilled an extra hole 7/8 back. So what I'm going to do is take this and go kerp over to here, and it's going to bolt. This will be the backmost bolt here now, and I'm going to weld this plate onto the back of this here. I'm going to cut this lip off, and I'll bend the new lip down here and tie this in. So the bolt holes here, so the one bolt will be here, and then there'll be another bolt here and another bolt down here. I'll trim all this off, and then trim this up here and weld this up in the back, and essentially move my holes back 7/8 of an inch. But these three holes will be the frame holes, and I'm going to plug weld through the old holes here, and then weld down the back side here like that. And I think I'm going to make a plate that goes up into here with like a fish mouth, and I'm going to double up the back of this mount. And also, come on, killing me here. Also, I think I'm going to put a rib down the center to match this. It's 3/4 of an inch thick. And then box the whole front of this right down into here, so the whole face of this will be boxed up through the headlight mount, and it'll really stiffen this up, take all the twist out of it. Okay, I got the bracket welded on here, welded up real nice, and I just got to go ahead and switch this piece over here, and run the edge around here. I got the passenger side one bolted up down here. Hold on, I've got to dip down. So I'm trying to figure out how this is going to work out for the shock. I'm just going to simulate an upper bolt here. The shock's at kind of an angle because it's a 10-degree right back of the axle compared to here. But I think I can when I box this in, I think I can weld a tab for a bolt, and then I'm going to come out with the back side of the fender brace back here and make a step around, and I think the shock is going to sit about like this. Alright, so I got both the fender mounts on here now and got the fenders laid on here, so I just wanted to see how everything cleared. Everything's going to fit nice, the tires don't hit, so everything's good to go there. So I think I'll take the fenders back off and I'll start fabbing on that stuff. I'm starting to form up the new edge of the fender brace here. I went and I welded some 3/4 inch flat stock along the edge, which is the same as this side. And I used a piece of 1 inch up here. It's a little fat, but I'm going to box this whole front section in here where the shock is going to weld on about here. And I'm also going to take a piece of 3/4 and I'm going to run another rib up the center of this, just tacked along the way up to the hole for the headlight bar. And then I'm going to box the whole front of this, and this will hopefully take all the twist out of this. Right now it's like a channel, you can twist it on the frame. And then on the back side here, I'm going to overlay another piece of 3/16 plate, which I made this bottom piece out of. I'm going to lay it up here, up and gusset this in, and weld it down and double wall this back side. So this thing should be super strong down here with the shock mount bolts on, and it hopefully won't break it or twist it or shake the crap out of the front end. But I think it's going to be all right. So that's what I'm working on. Just going to do a lot of cutting and grinding and fitting the pieces here, but it's looking good so far. Bam. Alright, I went and I welded a rib up the center here, 3/4 inch, and that way when the boxing plate comes across it can tie into this whole thing all the way across here. I also ground up the edge. This new edge here looks real nice now, and I made a boxing plate for the back that's going to fill all this in right here like this. So this will be doubled up around here, and then I'll weld it over here, but I'll box all that in, get a couple of plug weld holes in the back, and then it'll box in that new piece over here and tie all that together good, and then we'll just go ahead and skin this down the front. That should take all the torsional twist out of this by tying both sides of it together. Alright, bam, check it out. Got that all welded on there, nice weld action all the way around, plug welded on here. Perfect. So that's super beefy now. Now I made the boxing plate. This is out of 14 gauge hot rolled, and that's going to sit right on the top here. I cut it out with my Beverly shear because it will handle this action. And this is going to weld on. I got a, well, ooh, it's sharp. I want to get a little sharp edge down there somewhere. Well, it's going to have a nice little cutout down here to get on the bolts. When this is on the frame, it's going to look like that, so that'll be nice. Then I got a couple of plug welds to catch that center rib. Then I just did a nice little curve up top. So that will box that sucker up nice, and this thing will be super strong for a shock mount. Alright, bam, here we go. It's all made up here, and I've even tacked the shock mount tabs on here, just temporary where I'm working on it. Here I haven't welded it fully yet. I just want to make sure everything's going to work first. But check this thing out. Let me step back. Bam. This thing is awesome. Super heavy duty. I've got almost a 1/4 inch thick mount down here, and it's probably 3/16 thick here, and then the shock ties in right here like this. Here's a frame, and here we go. Or here's a frame, mounts like that. This thing is awesome. So let's put it on the truck, and I'll show you how the shock works. Bam, bam! Look at that. That looks awesome. One thing I got to do, I had to torque the shock ahead just a little bit to line up with the fender brace. So I got to take the torch, and I got to take this lower stud, and I got to heat it up, and I got to bend it about, I don't know, 3-4 degrees down just to take the pressure off the shock, because the head of the shock wanted to be out here just about 3/4 way off the fender brace. So I've got it just torqued over on the rubber right now, but when I heat it up, I can straighten it out and take all the stress out of this lower joint here. But that should be awesome. It's nice and stiff. This fender brace is stiffened all the way up. The only twisting you get up here where it's unboxed, this side part of it is super strong, and hopefully it will work all right. Now let's watch this. See if it works. Oh, it's working! It's working! Bam! Perfect. So that's about it right now for the fender brace. I've just got to do some, take this off, do my final welding, adjust this side, then I'm going to repeat it on the other side. But I've successfully completed moving the fender brace backwards, reinforcing the whole thing, and making my upper shock mount here for my front shock. So I'm going to say this is an excellent job completed today. Took all day to build this and fab all the pieces and get all the geometry worked out and figure out what's going on, but I think it's going to work out good, and I'm happy with it. So bam, there we go, finished. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe and put out new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Hit the bell for alerts, tell your friends, and as always, we'll see you right back here at the Quick Speed Shop for more Model A Hot Rod Shop Truck action.